everyone. It's your girl, Kendra Davis, and we are here again with another episode of the Why We Win interviews. Today, we have Denise Ricks, who is a real estate broker. She is licensed to do real estate in the state of Virginia and North Carolina, and she's going to talk to us today about a little bit of the pros, cons, facts, fictions, myths, truths of real estate purchasing, being in the real estate industry, and so forth. How are you today, Denise?
I am doing wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. It's a great day.
Excellent.
84 degrees here in Texas. So
Oh, I know that's right. I'm ready for some of that weather.
I know that's right. Here, I'm getting the pool ready right now. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Denise?
Sure. My name is Denise Ricks. I am a native of Southampton County, Virginia. I graduated from Southampton High School, Hampton University, and Regent University. I have my bachelor's in psychology. I also have my master's in human service counseling, as well as my license in real estate as a licensed principal broker. I'm currently the licensed principal broker of Royal Trust Realty LLC, which is located in Newport News, Virginia, in the city center of Newport News, Virginia. As far as with real estate, I've been in the business for about 16 years now. Started out as an assistant in 2006, got my license in 2007. I've been rolling ever since. Um, I've had a lot of opportunities to work with a lot of individuals throughout my career, whether it be buyers or sellers or title companies. And I have learned a lot of useful information within the 16 years that I've been employed as a real estate agent. Through the years, you get to see it all, the ups, the downs, the in between. Real estate is definitely a career that will show you your true colors. It will either make you or break you throughout the process. It's definitely a different industry. I started in 2007. I obtained my broker's license in 2021, which was one of my goals. In January 2021, I became licensed, and later that year, in July of 2021, I started Royal Trust Realty LLC. I definitely attribute my success of the company to the amazing team of real estate agents that I have on staff. They are wonderful. They help me structure, they help me build, and they are definitely the people that help Royal Trust Realty to continue to rotate on its axis. And they come from a knowledgeable real estate background and other professionals and other professions as well.
Okay.
Real estate, I've always had a love for real estate. It's just a passion of mine from the first time I got involved, and I've had it ever since. So it's just one of those things, is what I do. In addition to real estate, I do wear many other hats as well. I expressed that I graduated from Hampton University and from Regent University. In addition to, I am the 250th anniversary queen of Southampton County, which is a pageant they have every 50 years. They had the pageant in 1999. I won, and the next one will be in 2049. So I'll be the queen for 50 years.
Wow.
I'll actually be 68 years old when I crown the next queen of Southampton County. And it just sounds weird saying that, because it's like, wow, 50
I'm gonna
years,
be 68.
like, yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
that's a long time.
Yes.
And I am the first African American queen of Southampton County as well. The previous court was all Caucasian, and I think maybe about 8 of them attended when we had our pageant in 1999. So it was amazing to get a chance to meet them and talk to them, and just to learn the history of the county. And through that title, I also do a lot of community events where I give back, like back to school drives. I network with other community leaders to do different events and different things.
Okay.
Another hat, I'm also a qualified mental health provider for children and adults. I've also worked in the mental health field just as long as real estate, where I do in-home therapy for children and adults. And I'm certified to do that as well. And I have other certifications through that profession, in which I love that as well, because I just love working with people in general.
Let's talk about this adjunct professor. Let's get to that because that one blew me right there. Because I'm like, okay, she had to qualify mental health, and then you said, oh, and I teach classes online. How? Huh?
Yes. Yes, I teach classes on that line. It used to be Thomas Nelson
Huh?
Community College, but the name has changed to Virginia Peninsula Community College. I used to tutor a while back, and all of the students I tutored were at Virginia Peninsula Community College. So the staff would see me so much, they actually thought I was a student. So they was like, we want to bring you on board to be a certified tutor. And then I didn't know you had to be a student, so I filled out the paperwork. And they was like, wait a minute, you're not a student. You can't, you can't be a student tutor. So they was like, hey, would you like to teach the incoming freshman orientation classes? And I'm like, sure. And ever since 2012, that's what I've been doing. And they paid for me to get certified to be able to teach online. So I teach online and in the classroom.
Okay,
And I love it because I'm just a teacher at heart, whether it's real estate, school, or anything. I just love helping and teaching people.
that's great. Also, your mother, girl, you have so many hats. Your mother, you are, I don't, you help take care of your mom.
Yes.
You have a lot going on. When do you make time for you? What do you do just for you when you need to just be away from it all?
And I do wear a lot of hats, but it's also about, I tell people, balance and time management.
Mhm.
And I have a to-do list, and most days it goes as according to plan, but sometimes it doesn't. But in my free time, I like outside. I'm a country girl. Like where my office is, it just so happens to be water. I'll go out there and sit by the water. I'll walk. You know me, I also love to thrift. So
Mhm.
I'll go thrifting. I'll find good deals, good sales, like just anything that's just relaxing to take myself away, from it. I like to skate too. Even though I go most of the time with my daughter, I love skating too
See, I
and
like being
dancing.
outside too, but I just told you about my recent
Right.
uninvited neighbors.
Uninvited guests.
Yeah, those possums, they want to show up and take over. So hopefully we can get something done
Yes.
about them so I can enjoy my backyard again because we got it all set up and ready, and then boom, here come
I
the
know
rain.
that's right.
But hey, it is what it is. It happens. Um, so
Yeah.
in real estate, I heard you mention that you were a principal broker. What is the difference in a broker and an agent? And
Mhm.
what is a principal broker compared to just a broker?
Good question. And a lot of people, even though I'm a principal broker, people refer to me as an agent because it's just the common thing. And a
Mhm.
lot of people don't know the difference. But the way I explain being a broker, it's kind of like a fancy way of saying I'm a supervisor, I'm a manager.
Mhm.
I pretty much oversee everything. As an agent, you can come in, you get licensed. You have to be licensed for 3 years before you can apply to become a principal broker. And that's 3 consecutive years you want to be, because some people, they'll get in it, then they'll get out, then they'll get back in it, because your license can be active or inactive.
Mhm.
If you're inactive, you're still licensed, you're just not practicing real estate. But if you're active, even though you may not be technically doing sales, you're still active as a real estate agent under a company. And
Okay.
in order to be active, you have to be with a company. If you don't have a company, then they'll put you back in inactive
And
status.
by company, you mean under the supervision of a broker. You cannot
Exactly. You
just
have
say,
to
I'm gonna
be
have a real
under a
estate company.
supervision of a broker.
Okay.
Yeah. And with a broker, once you do your 3 years as a regular agent, you can apply to become a broker. It's a process of going to real estate school. You have to study. You have to pass a state and a national exam for the school. Then you have to sit for another test that's kind of higher up, that's outside of the real estate school.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a proctor exam. If I
Mhm.
had to compare it to something, it would be like taking the SAT or the GRE in
Okay.
high school, where they proctor you, you come in, and also you have to pass the state and the national part. And when you pass that, then you officially become licensed as a principal broker.
Okay. And is that throughout the country or is that just the two states that you're licensed in, or do you know?
That's just the two states that I'm licensed in. Real estate varies depending upon the state. Um, North Carolina, real estate, totally different from Virginia real estate.
Okay.
You are liable for so much more in North Carolina compared to Virginia. In Virginia, I can go in and I can go into tax records and get the square footage and whatever it says, that's what's going into listing a
Right.
property. In North Carolina, you actually have to measure the square footage or pay an appraiser to come out and measure the square footage. And if that square footage is off or something's wrong, then you're liable as the agent. So it's really like the difference between night and day for North Carolina
Mhm.
because their laws are so different. And it's to the point I literally have to turn my brain off from the Virginia law
Right.
because
Forget everything you
North
ever knew.
Carolina is just
Right.
like, yeah, this work in Virginia, but this not gonna work in North Carolina.
Oh man, that
And
sounds
and
confusing. It
and
sounds
in
like a
North
lot.
and in North Carolina, you're never a real estate agent or salesperson. You come straight in as a broker.
How does that work? Like, so
It's just the
because
law.
there's no levels to it.
No,
It's just
it's no levels. When you prepare for that test and take it, they're giving you everything you need to be a broker.
oh
And
wow.
because I was a broker in Virginia already, I didn't have to go through the classes,
Okay.
the initial classes that someone would who wasn't a broker. So
Okay.
I didn't, it was much easier for me to transition as a North Carolina broker versus someone who had never been in real estate.
So do you feel like you'll be expanding to other states, or you just that's it right there? Your cup is full. Like,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely. I'll be expanding here in Hampton Roads. I also want to expand to Northern Virginia too.
Okay.
And North Carolina, of course, because that's where I'm licensed. So
Okay.
that's the goal in regards to expansion.
I mean, as far as like some of the like, so I know Virginia, North Carolina, they have some great property, good land, um,
Yes.
great land. But I'm talking about like if you wanted to expand into like a Texas market or a Florida market, you know, those
Yes,
coastal vacation
absolutely.
areas.
Yep. Definitely. With the company growth, I just want to expand and branch out to as many states, as I can. And with that, I could get licensed in those states, or I can hire a broker that is licensed in those states.
Right. Okay, okay, because you could have the company, but you would just employ a broker to handle someone who doesn't want all the overhead problems.
Right.
Okay,
Exactly.
that works.
Yeah,
But let us know whenever you decide to branch out to those states, because I'm pretty sure it's somebody that's in this group
absolutely.
or somebody watching this video that's going to be looking for a real estate brokerage and in those states in the future, and they might be like, "Hey, I remember Denise. Yeah, I remember her." So
Absolutely.
let us know when you
Yes.
branch off. The Queen. That's interesting. And being, I'm sure that's a heavy, let's say heavy is the head that wears the crown, especially for 50 years. So what does that
Yes.
entail? Like, how did you manage to become the Queen of Southampton County for 50 years and the
Mhm.
first African American Queen of Southampton County for 50 years?
Mhm.
And what comes after that?
Mhm. And what happened was they had advertised a pageant, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just try it. And I really tried it with no expectations other than the fact that, you know what? It's just something else I can say I've done, and everybody's like, do it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then once I got into it, I didn't understand that it was so much to it, meaning we had to do interviews. We went to classes that taught us how to eat properly, etiquette classes. You had to have like an evening gown and those things, and a lot of other contestants, they had theirs handmade.
Mhm.
The judges were flown in where nobody had any ties to them, so they couldn't influence,
Right.
the decision. Also, Miss Virginia was there. I was crowned by Miss Virginia during
Oh,
that time, and I do believe her name was Nita Booth.
and
And we had
correct me if I'm wrong, she was African American at the time too.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So what I thought was a small thing ended up turning into something huge.
Okay.
Um, They also looked at, your academics. I was in athletics. They looked at everything. They researched everything.
Oh
We
wow.
had questions that they gave us the questions in advance. We had to memorize the questions. So we had to do talent portion. Of course, my portion was dance.
Dancing.
So yeah, and then they did you by category. So I got the highest marks in the category of the questions and the talent.
Okay.
And then we did a group dance, and we had these ribbons. From the first beat, I dropped my ribbon, and I'm like, this pageant is over. 'Cause I was like, but I kept going though, as if I still had it. So that was very embarrassing, but I made it and I won. They did first, second, and third runner up,
Okay.
and I knew it was it was really close between me and another contestant. When they said she was first winner runner up, I already knew I had won. And they gave me, like, I think it was like $250, some roses. I had a parade through the town.
Okay.
I did a time capsule at Southampton High School. It's buried on the football field.
Okay.
Um, we also had an event that night at the football field where everybody just came and celebrated. And it's just a matter of just carrying out the title, networking in the community, doing
Okay.
community events, and just doing different things, as well as keeping up, with like the history of the county.
Did they tell you why 50 years though? Did they tell you like,
Nope, they said it's just something they do every 50 years.
wow, that's interesting that they let it,
Mm-hmm.
one
Yep,
person have the seat for that long.
yep. And
Very
for the
interesting.
county, and I'm just like, wow.
It's like
And
50 years from now. So
yep,
where we at? You said you'll be 68 by then?
yep,
How old will your
2014.
child be by then? Because mine long gone. They long grown.
Woo! Um,
Grown, right?
look, let me think.
Will she be in her
So,
20s?
cause she gonna be,
She'll
that's
be
what,
30.
2049. She'll be 33 years
I would say she'll
old.
be 30. So she'll be
Wow.
eligible. She'll be eligible.
Yeah. Yeah.
She'll be eligible to run. Mine will be long gone. It won't be
Exactly. And
eligible.
see, that's provided that we got to be in the area, because I think it's
Correct.
only for students.
Residents.
It was in Southampton County, so you had to go to Southampton High School or
Right.
either Franklin High School at that time. They could
Okay.
change it though. It's possible.
I mean, I think it's a good thing, and I think it's something that needs to be more. That's why I was asking why the term so long for 50 years, because I think it's
Right.
something that needs to be more widely broadcasted and the information put out there so that more people
I
know
agree.
that, hey, this actually exists. Yeah, we have our I got my little 2,000 followers, and you have your little
Right.
followers in there, but everybody doesn't know and everybody doesn't disseminate information anyway. So I feel like it needs to be publicized more. And
I
50 years
agree.
is a long time for one person to have it. Like, that's a long time.
I
But
absolutely agree.
wear your crown, girl. Wear it.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. That's interesting. I dropped my pen. So we're gonna delve right back into real estate.
All right.
Being a principal broker, I know, like we were talking to the nurse practitioner the other night, no one person knows everything. But I do want you to give me 3 things, and you can pick whatever you like, of 3 things that you have seen in your career, or you feel like you can't impress this upon people enough. If I'm trying to purchase a home, land, commercial property, whatever have you, right?
Yes.
What is it? What are 3 things that really need to stick out to me as the consumer, as the buyer?
Mhm. Definitely getting started, because I think a lot of people start looking before they're actually prepared.
Okay.
And what that looks like is, oh, I drove past this house, I saw a sign for sale, I called the agent, I got the information. Or I found this house on Zillow, and this it's in the neighborhood, or I grew up in this home or next door to it. This is the house I want. I want to go see it. I want to go see it right now.
Well,
And I gotta be like, hold on, let's slow down. It's a process. And getting started means before we're even looking at houses, I need to know that you're qualified. Because if you're not qualified, once you show somebody one house, they want to see another one and another one.
right.
And we could be wasting our time looking at houses that you may not qualify for, or that you may qualify, but it's outside of your price range.
Right.
And then you get your hopes up only to be disappointed because you can't get what you thought that you were able to afford. So with that, it's the process of getting pre-approved. which kind of brings me to my second topic, getting pre-approved through a lender or a bank. Because a lot of people think that myself as the principal broker or the real estate company approves them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I don't approve you. I don't know your credit unless you tell me. I don't know where you work. I don't know your finances. I never see your pay stubs. I don't see your W-2s because that's all confidential with the lenders. And
Mm-hmm.
if I know that information, it's because you personally told me.
Okay.
And when you get with the lender, they'll get all of that information, pay stubs, bank statement, taxes. And that's the criteria in which they're going to qualify you, as well as how long you've been on your job.
Okay.
And
So
for
what's like a like we talk about well I'm gonna let you finish your time, but with
Mhm.
the lenders, they have different types of loans.
Yes, you
And
have
how
different lenders, different type of loans. You have some lenders that are actually banks. So you have like your Navy Federal, your Bank of America, Wells Fargo,
Mhm.
Bayport credit unions. They're actually banks, so they're more likely to lend you their money. Then you have lenders that are brokers, but
Okay.
a broker that's a lender is different from a broker that's a real estate broker.
Okay.
A lender broker is a person that, I'll say, for example, like Atlantic Bay and Movement Mortgage, they're going to shop around your loan to find you the best company for payment, interest rates that fits your financial needs according to
Mhm.
your credit score and what you qualify for.
Mhm.
And based upon that, you may get a FHA loan, which requires you to put 3.5% down, but they have first time home buyer programs that can cover that 3.5% for you.
Okay.
Um, conventional is more for investors, or if you're not an investor, it requires you to put 20% down. So if the house is 100,000, then you put $20,000 down, and then they would finance the rest of the 80,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you have VA loans, which is military only, where
Okay.
those loans are covered 100%, but you do have costs that are outside of that loan that you must account for as well.
Such as closings.
Yes, you
Okay.
have what is called closing costs. These are things that you're going to pay for outside of your loan. You
Okay.
have an earnest money deposit, which you put down with the contract to show that you're serious about purchasing it. It could range from $250 to $2,000. It just depends on what you negotiate, or it could be more. It just depends on what you negotiate with the seller.
Okay.
You have home inspection. Home inspection on average, maybe $450 one-time fee. It varies because the bigger the house, and if it has a crawl space, they're going to charge you more because it's more to do versus a smaller house that's on a slab where they don't have to go under the house.
Okay.
Then you're going to have termite moisture. Make sure you don't have termites, mold, water, those type things. And if you happen to get a condo or townhouse that's in a property owners association, their disclosure packages, either you or the seller may have to pay for that, and that's outside of your loan. In addition to the appraisal, is outside of your loan, and the appraisal is what the lender does to make sure that if you're buying that house for $200,000, they're making sure that house is worth $200,000. Because
Okay.
if they go out and do that appraisal, and that appraisal comes back that that house is only worth 180,000, they're only going to lend you that 180,000 and not a penny more. Then you got to either ask the seller to drop the price or pay the difference. You got to come to some type of agreement
Okay.
because they're only going to lend you the lesser amount, whether it's the appraisal or what's on the contract. Now, if it comes in at 220,000, then hey, you're good at 200,000. That just means you got equity of
Right.
20,000. So, and then you have closing costs. Closing costs, I normally calculate it 3% of the purchase price. I'm just using 100,000 because it's easy to calculate.
Right.
So 3% of that is $3,000 you would be coming out of pocket for closing costs.
Mm-hmm.
This is your title insurance, your taxes, your homeowner's insurance, the recording of your deed, the lender's costs, the title company's costs, the processing through the city or the county, depending upon taxes. It includes a wide range of fees that are associated in the process for you to close. And normally what I do ask the seller to pay for that when we write the contract. Hey, seller, can you pay my buyer's 3% closing costs? A good 8 times out of 10, I get it. Whether they pay the full amount of $3,000, or they might say, "Hey, Denise, I'm not gonna give you 3,000. I'm gonna give you 1,500." Or
Right,
some of them are like, "I'm not giving you anything at all."
right.
So that gives my buyer the choice to say, "Okay, they're not giving me closing costs. I really need it. I'm gonna walk away and find another house where they are paying it."
So
Or I
that was
really want it. I'm gonna pay this $3,000 out of pocket myself.
right, because that was one of my questions. At what point during the sale do you have the option as the buyer? We're gonna talk about the buyer right now to
Mhm.
walk away.
Yep, during the offer negotiation phase, if you can't come to an agreement or something that doesn't work for you, you can walk away. During the home inspection period, some people do the home inspection in 7 days, some people do it in 10 days or 15 days, depending
Mhm.
upon when you're closing. That's a contingency period, meaning if you get that home inspection done and it's a ton of repairs that the seller's not trying to repair and you feel like it's important, it could be plumbing, electrical, you can walk away. You don't get your home inspection money back.
Okay,
You don't, but you do get your earnest money deposit back.
okay,
So that home inspection, even though you don't get it back, it's well worth the investment. Because if you don't get it done and you buy this house, then you stuck with those issues once you close on it. You can't come back after closing and say, "Hey, this has plumbing issues."
uh-huh.
And a lot of people don't know that home inspections are optional. You don't have to
Mhm.
get a home inspection.
But you
But
should.
I tell my people, we have documentation that they sign saying, "Hey, Denise informed me to get a home inspection, and if I choose not to, that's at my own risk."
Right,
They can't come back and, try to get me because something came up afterwards.
right. So because
So,
we do a lot of post construction, well, my company, we do a lot of post construction cleanings. So we clean a lot of the new houses that are being built.
mhm,
And I think a lot of people think that because it's a new house, then we can just forego the inspection and just from some things I've seen cleaning
yes,
those places, I would suggest that whenever you're going to make a major purchase,
everything.
yes, get you an
I
inspection.
encourage my buyers, even on new construction, get
Yes,
a home inspection because
yes,
you got
ma'am.
some contractors that just go in and they'll throw these houses up.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't even know what they're using or what they've done or how they've wired it,
Or how
you
long the
know.
material has set, or anything. Yes,
Exactly. They might have
exactly.
used some rotten boards to throw your walls together.
And then you're in, and by the time your 1 year is a 1 year gap, right? On the new, by the time your 1 year is up, everything falling down.
Right. Your house falling apart. And back in I think it was 2006, right when I came in, they had the issue with, I don't know if you ever heard of it. It was the Chinese drywall
Yes.
where it was shipped from China, very cheap.
Was that the one
They
with
threw
asbestos in it?
Yep, it was making people sick. Like
Yes.
people were moving into the houses. I'm talking about like whole families, not just
Yes.
like one or two, to the point they had to, every house that was built like that, a lot of them, they had to end up tearing them completely down. It was like building a new
Yeah,
construction
they had
all
to do
over
like
again.
probably had to do like abatement and everything because
Yep.
if I'm
And
correct with I say the one they had asbestos in the drywall, right?
everything. Yep.
Okay.
And it was just very harmful. And that's one of those situations where home inspection not really trusted, and that was honestly one of those things that could have been a hit and miss, but now it's a disclosure. Like in our contract it says, was this house built in 2006, did it have defective drywall,
Correct.
because if it did, we have to disclose that.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's some good to know information. So we were on your
Mhm.
second topic when I jumped in.
Oh, you're
Um
fine.
and you were talking about being pre-qualified and getting pre-approved through lender.
Yes. Mhm.
Was there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yep, once you get pre-approved, that's when you start looking.
Mhm.
That's when because you will look based upon the amount that you're approved for. And just because you're approved for an amount doesn't mean that you use that full amount. Because if you're approved for 300,000, but the monthly payment of what you want puts you at a house at 200,000, then guess what? We're gonna look at houses at 200,000 because I need to keep you within a comfortable monthly price range. Because I don't want you to have a nice house, but you in here eating noodles because you can't pay your bills and you're trying to, maintain, or coming back to me saying, hey Denise, my house about to go into foreclosure because I can't afford it.
Right.
No, we're gonna start off with you in a position where you can afford it.
And that's
So you do what's in your means.
right.
Don't
That says
now
a
if
lot
you
about
want to go to the top, that's fine, but I'm gonna give you my expert opinion. Stay where you're comfortable.
and that says a lot about the integrity of you and your agency because a lot of because brokers and real estate agents get a commission, correct?
Yes,
So if I can get you the bigger sale, I get the bigger commission. But you're
absolutely.
not operating that way. You're like, hey, I
Hmm.
want you to be homeowners. I don't want you to be home buyers.
Right.
Okay.
Hmm.
That's
And I think what a lot of people don't see either is sometimes our commissions get cut. So when you see these sales like close, that doesn't mean we're getting the full commission. Our commissions could get cut because that's what the seller cuts it. Like, I'm only paying you this. And for me personally, I'm not going to allow my commission to determine whether or not my buyer gets that house if they really want it. It's
Mhm.
like, cut it. Hey, let's just work, let's just do it,
Have you ever had a seller and a
and
buyer go half on the commission?
no, I haven't.
Okay.
I've been Now it does happen, but I will say I have been blessed where the seller has always paid my commission.
Okay. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Now I've had it where I've had to give my commission to resolve a problem. It may have been $1,000, and they're like, "I'm not paying, and I'm not paying." Okay, take the $1,000 out of my commission, pay it, but you got to sign forms saying everybody agrees just to
Right.
get it closed.
Correct.
I've had to do that, a couple of times, whether it was 1,000 or whatever we agreed upon,
And
just
see,
to
that's
get
the
the
ugly
deal
side that
closed.
people don't see.
Exactly.
That's the side people don't know
Yeah.
about. And that's hence why we're having this conversation.
Yes. And another side that people don't see is we don't get paid until we close.
Hmm.
So while I'm driving around showing you 35 houses, I have not earned a dime until
Hmm.
you write that contract.
Hmm.
I'm paying for gas, I'm spending my time.
Hmm.
You pay me nothing up front when I represent you as the buyer.
Right. So it's
It's just based off of when we write that contract. And when we write that contract, then you got to get to closing. Because there are a lot of deals that don't get to closing.
hmm
Whether it's a week, I've had a deal where I sat down at the table with the key in my hand at closing and could not close because this buyer decided to go out and buy a brand new BMW. So guess what? They no
So,
longer qualify for the loan because their debt to income ratio
yep.
went up. So you got
Mhm.
debt now that you didn't have in the beginning.
Right.
Heartbreaking. So that's the stuff that people don't see, or things come up at the end where, Denise, we didn't get this documentation. We can't close. That's the other side of real estate that people don't see.
Right.
How
Because
we're
people think,
we're
oh,
praying like,
I just get my credit score, I
please
get a loan.
close.
I get my credit
Yeah.
score, I get a loan, I go buy a house. And it's
Hmm.
not really that simple. Like you were just talking about the debt to income ratio,
Hmm.
because a lot of people think that the credit that is checked for purchasing real estate is just your
Hmm.
score. And it's not.
Much more than that. It's a
Exactly.
whole process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also when that comes to the well, you said he went out and bought something right before closing, right? A big purchase
Hmm.
right before closing. Is there a point in, I don't know if you would do this, anyone from your agency, or would your lender do it? If you have preferred lenders or whatnot, but
Hmm.
sit down with that potential buyer and say, hey, you need to eliminate this debt, this debt, this debt, cut this down.
Yes.
Okay, so they do
Hmm.
that.
Yep. And I have lenders that'll go through like the credit report and tell buyers everything that they need to do. I do a buyer consultation. I tell them everything to do and to not to do. We not buy no cars. A lot of people want to buy new furniture for the house before they get it. No, absolutely not. You get it first, then you buy the furniture, because the reality is most people are going to finance it. And even if you don't finance it, you're taking that cash out of your bank, which they're going to ask or verify how much you have towards the end of closing. And
Mhm.
it's going to show that you're missing what could be $5,000 to $10,000 because you spent it on furniture. And then they're going to say, hey, the cash we saw is no longer there.
Right.
What happened? So those are the things, you know, I let buyers know upfront. We're not making no purchases. We're not opening no new credit cards. We're not closing no accounts either, because a lot of people don't understand that when you close a credit card or a bank account, it drops your score.
Okay.
So where you may have been at a 680 credit score, you know, it may drop down 30 points because you closed out a credit card.
Mhm.
And you think you're doing what's right because you're not using it, but no, you just shut down a line of revolving credit that was
Right.
helping to boost your credit score.
Correct. Because now you don't
Yeah.
have that available credit
Right.
listed. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your third topic?
My third topic is don't
We're talking about for the
compare.
buyer. I mean, for the buyer. Okay.
Don't compare your situation to other people who have purchased homes or bought homes, because people will come quick. Oh well, my aunt, my uncle, my coworker, my mama, my daddy said they did this and they got this program and they got this funded and all they had was this credit score and this is how much house they got. Laws change every day.
Mhm.
Every day. Interest rates change every day. So you're comparing yourself to a person that bought a house 15, 20 years ago when life and laws were totally different.
Mhm.
And plus, their finances don't look like your finances.
Mhm.
You might be coming from a one person income. They got two because they married. So,
Right.
of course, they're going to qualify for more because they got two incomes versus one. Because when they
Mhm.
qualify you, they're qualifying you based on your income.
Mhm.
And some people will tell you what you want to know, they're not telling you everything.
Mhm.
And a lot of people that come to me with questions about certain things, I tell them, prove it. Most of them can't. I
Mhm.
said, exactly. I'm
And
like, show me. When you can show me, then I'll do my research. I'll find out what it is that you need to know.
right. So another reason why we're having this conversation, because what we've noticed is that a lot of times people are functioning off of hearsay. They have
Yes,
no facts. They don't even know. I've met people who can't even figure out how to locate the resource they need to get the information that they need.
exactly.
So that's why I'm having these conversations with people from different areas and arenas and professions is real beneficial, because a lot of times in certain circles that's not the topic of discussion, or they could tell you that
Exactly.
they did it, but they can't tell you how to do it.
Yeah. And it's like, depend on your person that is an expertise in that field.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a mechanic. So when my mechanic is fixing my car, I'm not gonna go tell him how to fix my car because I don't
Exactly.
know nothing about it.
Right.
If it ain't involving me getting in, starting it up, you know, I know how to check the oil. So that is my extent of the under the hood and maybe see if my windshield washer fluid is a little low. That's my extent of it. I'm not gonna go in there and tell him
Right.
how to repair my alternator just because another mechanic repaired my cousin's alternator. Like
Right.
that's not my expertise.
Especially when you might have a different car.
Exactly. We don't have
So
the
on and so
same
forth.
car. So I'm gonna stay in my lane or I'm gonna
Exactly.
depend on the person who's the expert. So I tell people, hey, if you're interested in buying or selling, you know, talk to an agent, talk to someone that's an expert in that field. This is
Right.
what they do. You know, and then you can compare. I tell people, hey, compare your answers. You can talk to me, you can talk to two other brokers or real estate
Right.
agents, you know. So and compare apples to apples or apples to oranges or whatever it is. But you best believe what Denise Ricks tell you, I can back it up and I can show you documentation too.
Yeah, I heard her. She said it's facts.
Yeah.
She said it's
Because
all
people
facts.
people people are quick to say cash is king. No, documentation is king because
Absolutely.
documentation rules the cash and tells it where to go
Exactly.
legally.
Absolutely.
Legally.
I agree. If it's not written down, it never happened.
Yeah.
It
I'm
never
like,
happened.
people have no idea how many times we have been saved. You know why? Because it was doc.
Documentation. Mm-hmm.
They
Proper
would say
documentation.
one thing and drag you through the mud. Oh, well, let me show you this paper that I signed and you signed right here. Here's the day you signed it, and the day it was emailed, and the day
Exactly.
you accepted it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So with the FHA loans, is there a rule for couples? I'm feeling like I should have got one before I married my husband. So is there a rule for couples when it comes to FHA loans, or
No, there's really no rule for couples when it comes to any loan, with exception, I'll say the VA. They may look at it a little different because let's say, if your husband's military, but you're not,
right?
but you're still married, they may do that a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But just on FHA conventionals, they're just going to qualify you. And there are times where both of you qualify, wonderful, combine your income, you buy more house, or they may say, hey, Kendra, you don't qualify, but your husband does. We're going to do the loan under your husband, but
Mm-hmm.
we're going to put the house in your name and his name.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is you get with the title company or settlement agency or closing company, we use them interchangeably. And what they'll do is during the process of closing, they'll add you to the deed.
Okay.
So you're the owner, even though you don't carry the loan. But at the same time, if your husband defaults on that loan and it go into foreclosure, you go into foreclosure too.
So then I have a question, because if I don't qualify at that time and he's the primary on the loan, I'm not on the loan, I'm on the deed, but I can't be financially responsible because we're married. And when you're married, you become one, and so on and so forth. But what if I decided to go get a FHA loan to buy another property while we're still married? It can be done.
You could do that, but that loan is going to look and see that you own the house, and they're still going to count that as with your debt to income ratio.
Okay. Okay.
Now they'll probably ask you, like, show us documentation that you're not on the loan.
Right.
But they're still going to calculate that because they know if your husband stopped paying that loan, and let's say you got to start paying it, they're going to see if you can juggle two houses.
Two of them.
And if you can't afford two houses on your income, they're not going to approve you for that loan. Or they may say, okay, we're not going to approve you for 200,000, but we'll approve you for $100,000 house. And then they're going to want to know this second house, are you getting it because you and your husband are separating and he's staying in this house and you staying in this one? Are you getting it for your kids? Are you getting it for an investment? They gonna question you to the T to understand why you want it and determine if they're gonna give you a loan for that reason.
And let's talk, since we're there with investments, let's talk about investment properties. Like, I know a lot of people nowadays are into ownership. What you see broadcasting is ownership of I'm a homeowner. But what about those that want to become real estate investors? They want to start, are there any tricks to the trade that would make it, more reasonable, affordable for them?
And the reality is, it honestly comes down to money. But there are some things that you can do that do not require money. So it depends on your financial situation.
Okay.
Meaning some people got cash, whether they just have it, they've saved it, they've worked hard for it, or they may have inherited, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And it's just a matter of whatever you pick, make sure it's within your financial needs. If it's something that you have to rehab, make sure you have the rehab money for it to get it done, whether you're going to flip it and resell it or whether you're going to fix it up and rent it out. Just make sure you're financially prepared.
Okay.
And don't bite off more than you can chew.
Right.
And there's also another part of real estate called wholesaling, where you don't need any money. And what you do, I don't know if you've seen a lot of these "We Buy Houses" signs.
Yes.
We'll buy houses cash.
Yes.
That's what wholesaling is. So what that is I'm driving around the neighborhood. I see a vacant property. I know it's vacant because the grass is 6 feet tall. One of the windows may be broken out, maybe boarded up, or I just might know don't nobody live there. The seller might be out of state and it's just sitting there collecting dust. It's not rented out, it's not rehabbed or anything. So what I'll do, I'll reach out to that lender and not the lender, I'm sorry. I'll reach out to that owner and say, hey, are you interested in selling your house? If they're like, yeah, sure, I'm going to do my research. So I already know how much that house is worth if I put it on the market to sell it. So let's say it's worth $250,000. I'm going to say, hey, how much you want for it? He might say I'll take 200,000. But I'm not going to give you what you asked for as part of negotiation. I'm a lowball you. I might offer you 130,000 cash, close in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That might sound good. $130,000 cash closing in 2 weeks.
Right.
Compared to loan, you got to qualify, you got to go through the appraisal. Cash isn't, hey, transfer it, let's go.
Right. Cash is king.
So what I do, I get him under contract for 130,000. I already have a pool of investors already. This requires none of my money. What I do, I will put down an earnest money deposit because that's just like a requirement, a rule of thumb. It could be $10, it could be $100.
Mm-hmm.
And that holds that contract. And I'm like, hey, it has a home inspection contingency. I'm gonna have a home inspection in 7 days. If everything is good and my financial partners approve of it, we'll close in 2 weeks. So I go over here to my pool of investors, buyers that I know got cash that are like, Denise, we need something. And I have a lot of them. And I'm like, hey, I got this house under contract. It's worth 250,000. I'm gonna sell it to you for 150,000. I'm under contract for 130,000, but I'm gonna sell it to them for 150,000.
So you profit 20.
Exactly. So yeah, Denise, I want, but during this time, they're gonna the home inspection period that I set up with the original person, I'm gonna have to have access to the property because they're gonna be able to go in and see it and do it. Or sometimes they might be like, "There's no access. You got to buy it sight unseen." Okay, I got to buy it sight unseen. I'm gonna offer you less because I don't know what I'm getting.
Right.
So then, when it gets to closing, he get his 130,000. I get my 20,000. And the buyers, they're good. They got it for 150,000, knowing it's worth 250,000. So they're probably gonna go in and rehab it for maybe 50,000, and they're gonna make 50,000.
Right.
So it's kind of like a win-win for everybody. So it's like you got to connect the dots, and that's how you make money investing without having money.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
But that's one of those processes
But everything that you just said required having a network of people. It didn't say, you didn't say Denise can do all of this by herself. You made one thing that really stood out right there was you said, I have a network of investors.
Yes.
We're going to have the inspection. It required steps and it required other people. So the key to this is pretty much networking.
Yes. Networking and partnerships. And, I swear by that in business. Build rapport with people. Get you a network of people. Create relationships with people. And, even with my company, me and my agents, what a lot of people don't know is we don't have leads. All of our business is from referrals, people we've networked with. Or maybe somebody saw me dancing on Facebook, like, hey, you're a broker, I want to buy. Like, we just, we have that business, and you create relationships with people so that when they hear somebody talking about real estate, they're going to think Denise. Hey, I'm not buying a house, but I heard my neighbor, or I heard this lady in Starbucks. Hey, check out Denise, here's her number. So it's about networking. And not just for what you can get. You also listen to their needs. And if they happen to be in business, you send people their way.
Right.
So it's, it's a 360. It's a two-way street.
So let's talk about the seller. How does that work? What are 3 things that they need to look out for as when they're trying to sell their property? Because some people, like we just talked about, hey, do you we buy houses for cheap or whatever, or the quick sales and things. What are some things that sellers should, be a little weary of or have knowledge in their pocket before selling their homes or their property?
Sellers, make sure you're disclosing everybody who has ownership in that home, whether it's an estate, whether you're married. I've been involved in transactions where the house was sold and they came back. She was married and she didn't tell us and we didn't find out. And the husband has ownership of this property and was due profits at closing. But we had title insurance, so that covered us. So be honest in what you're disclosing and what you own. Also, be realistic with how much you want your house to sell for. Because I'm gonna do my research and I'm gonna say, hey, based upon the market, your house is gonna sell for 200,000. In your mind, because you didn't look on Zillow, and Zillow didn't say it 300,000. But what you don't understand is Zillow is not in my market. Zillow is not real time.
Right.
And Zillow is not doing the market analysis that I'm doing on your property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes Zillow matches, it does, but it's not a true reflection
Mm-hmm.
of what the market is and what your house can sell for. And a lot of people swear by it. So I have to be realistic. Like, you can list it because honestly, as a seller, you can list your house for whatever you want. I
Mm-hmm.
can't control that, whether it's
Right.
at market or above or below. But as a broker and or agent, I'm not going to list nothing that makes me look like a fool either,
Right.
if that makes sense. You want to
Exactly.
list it for 400,000, it's worth 250. I
I
got
can't do
agents,
that.
I got relationships out here. And the moment they see it and they see my name, they're gonna say, Denise, why would you even list this?
Right.
You know this is overpriced.
Right.
So you want to stay within the price point of your house. And I always start out, hey, what price do you have in mind? So I already know what it is from the beginning.
Right.
And I'm like, look, upon my research, or if I haven't done my research, let me do my research and get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to set a realistic expectation. And it depends on the market.
Okay.
So, and let's see, the third thing for a seller, I would say in a situation where if you're a seller and you actually live in the home
Mm-hmm.
and you have people coming in to see your home, stay out the way. Stay out the way. If you know a person is coming in to see your house at 4 o'clock, you step out at 4 o'clock, let that buyer go in with their agent, let them walk through.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, and I've been in this situation quite a bit, the owners are in the house, they walk on your heels, and they want to show the house, which takes
Uh-huh.
away from my job. And sometimes it has caused my buyer who initially wanted the house to not want it anymore.
Right.
Because it's like, Denise, I couldn't even focus on the kitchen because they want to tell me about the cabinets and when they bought the microwave back in
Like they have an
1982.
attachment to it that they don't want to release.
Yes.
Yes.
And you have some people that will sabotage, meaning it might be a cousin that's living with you, or it could be a spouse where, okay, the husband want to sell it but the wife don't, so when you
Yeah.
come in, the wife want to tell it, don't buy this because this and this and it, and they'll sabotage it, and it works, unfortunately.
Yeah, because that's a huge
So
investment. Like if
yes,
you say it doesn't work, then I don't want it.
yeah, and especially knowing you're the owner or a
Right.
tenant for that matter, because
Right.
sometimes there's a tenant and
Mm-hmm.
the tenant don't want to move.
Right.
So the tenant is going to paint every negative, bad picture. They're going to tell you every single thing that's wrong with that house
Mm-hmm.
and more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what was I about to say? With the buyer sabotage, I forgot what my question was. Oh God, I forgot what my question was. I talked about the loans, we talked about the VA, and you talked about
Mhm.
wholesaling. You told him to staging. There we go. You told him to stay out the
Mhm.
way. But what
Yes.
about how the condition of the house looks when you know that you're showing your house? Because I've been in I staged houses too. So
Oh,
I've been in some
nice.
places where I'm looking around like, this is what you want me to stage? Like we could
Mhm.
have we could have bought some makeshift stuff in here, but this is what you want to
Right.
stage. Like, what recommendations do you have for those people that are living in those properties when they have people coming?
Yes. When you live in the property,
Need
you
some
can
water.
stage it with what you have. Make sure it's clean, it's nice, it's neat, it's in order.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's vacant, sometimes people will stage vacant houses,
Yes.
which I like because when you walk in and you see it with that dining room table or that couch or that bed, it kind of gives you a true perspective
Mm-hmm.
of, okay, this is what it's going to look like with furniture in it. But also, it's good to be vacant too, because sometimes you can walk in and see the open space and you already know, okay, I'm going to put my couch here, I'm going to put my TV
Right.
here. So you kind of, you got some people that can already, you can see it,
Okay.
you know. But when you're living in the property,
Mm-hmm.
just be mindful you want to be clean, you want to have your stuff in order,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of stay out the way. I've been in houses where I'm walking on top of clothes and I feel like the showing is over with before it started.
Yeah, yeah.
Or people who have pets Make sure your house is clean. I have walked in the house and I immediately know before I even see it. I can smell that they have a cat. I can smell that they have a dog. I can smell that they have a gerbil. I can smell that they have a ferret. I can smell anything. And if you have pets, such as big vicious dogs, make
Secure them.
sure you make your agent and everybody aware, because I have walked into a house and I have seen a dog break around the corner and I have almost ran up my buyer's back. We all running on top of each other, which can create a liability issue if
Right.
somebody gets bit, or I'm running
Correct.
out this door and I fall on your property
Oh,
and I break
yep.
my leg.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to notify your agents and let people know, so that's important too, that people don't think of. Take your pets, take them outside. And I got some people that are allergic to cats and dogs, so I need to know that, because they're going to scratch that house off the list, because some
Right.
stuff is just embedded in the carpet,
In the vents.
and right in the
The
vents and
ducts.
everything. And some people don't change their filters. I'm like, your filter look like a pet, it's so fair. Like, so it's so many things you want to be aware of. Or if you have animals that are stationary, let that be known too.
Such
Like
as a
some people
bird.
have big snakes in
Oh,
in the, like I call them the
aquarium.
big fish tanks,
Yeah.
aquariums.
Mm-hmm.
I had this, went in this one house, the Great Danes, the dog, they stand
Yes.
your height. They were quiet, but I walked in the room and almost jumped out my skin. It was two of them in two big cages, and they just standing there looking at me. But I didn't expect, because they didn't tell me they were in there. I guess
Right.
they thought since they were in the cage, you're good. Man, I think if I would have walked in and they would have barked at me, I probably would have had a heart attack.
Right.
So it's like you gotta prepare people,
Mm-hmm.
for those things. So those are things you want to, look out for too.
Okay. And if I wanted to be a agent, if I wanted to go to school and say, hey, I want to go to school, whatever my state requirements are, and be an agent, what pointers would you have for someone, especially if it's someone young and they say, hey, I'm gonna dabble in this, I'm gonna see how this goes. What pointers do you have for them, like starting out, especially in the school process, the boarding, taking the examinations for licensure, and then getting underneath the tutelage of, or the supervision of, a broker? What advice do you have for those people?
I'm a strong believer in, hey, try new things, see what works for you,
Right.
but make sure it's something that you're interested in doing and you're going to put forth the effort. I would advise people, before you even step into the class, go be an assistant for a real estate broker, be a transaction coordinator for a real estate broker, work as an office manager or work in the office so you can see the process and you can kind of get an understanding. Be an intern. Hey, can I shadow you? I got people that I mentor. Like, hey, come ride with me on this showing, or come ride with me so you can see how I take pictures of this house I just listed. Different things. So explore it from that perspective first. But even if you can't, it's okay if you just want to go into the class. And there's so many different ways you can do the class. You can do it online. You could do it face to face. You could do it where they send you the book and you study the book. You just figure out what method works for you. If you need that face to face, get in the class, because then you can ask questions. And
Right.
then other students are asking questions that you may not have thought of. That's a good question, or that you wanted to ask and you might have been scared to ask. And it's like, oh, okay, that they answer my question.
Right.
Versus if you're doing it online, you're teaching yourself. And it's a lot, because you're doing every aspect of real estate, from law to property management to buyers and sellers and your liabilities and responsibilities. So if you do online, just understand that you're teaching yourself. And once you get in that class, just try to retain as much as possible, because that real estate test, it's a beast. It's not. I can't even compare it to anything. It wasn't like a high school test. It wasn't like a college test. For me, it was more challenging than like the other standardized tests that I had taken. And just when you think you know the right answer, they'll give you two answers that, like, it sounds right, but it could be the difference between one word in the sentence.
Right.
It said and instead of but.
Right.
or it said or neither or either. It's like
Mhm.
you really have to read it and pay attention and focus on it,
Okay.
you know, and just be ready. And then once you get licensed, you come out. If you're going to be active, you have to go under a brokerage. So when you come out, you go straight into you got to do like educational classes through the company you with. It's like you have required educational classes to
Okay.
transition you into the real estate company.
Exemplifying her story, like you exemplifying woman walking in newness and her story. And I really appreciate you giving me
Oh,
this
thank you.
time out of your evening for
Yes,
this interview.
I appreciate you for having me.
Not a problem. And we'll probably do this again down the road away. But
Oh, I'm ready. Let me know.
shout out your business, because we spotlight women owned businesses, and since you are a woman on a woman
Yes, yes,
business
yes.
owner, go ahead and shout it out.
Yes, Royal Trust Realty LLC, principal broker, real estate is what we do. Royal Trust, be royal and trust us. We want you to trust us with your real estate needs because we're going to make sure you're taken care of. It's not just a business, it's not about money, it's about getting the best representation for people from people who have your best interests. We're here for you.
That's excellent. So y'all heard it from the owner herself, Royal Trust Realty.
Yes.
Royal Trust Realty, located in
Newport News, Virginia. City Center.
servicing who you service? Virginia.
Servicing Hampton Roads and surrounding areas.
Okay, Hampton Roads and surrounding areas. So if you guys are looking for any type of real estate guidance, go see Denise and her team at Royal Trust Realty.
Yes, we are here for you.
All right, it's been great, and hopefully we stay in touch. I'll be talking to
Yes,
you later,
definitely.
and everyone else, we will see you next week.
All right.
All right.
Peace.